In 1994, after years of working to improve the lives of Vermont women, a Governor's Commission on Women fundraising committee proposed creating an advised fund at the Vermont Community Foundation to support women in the state.
A planning committee was formed by the Vermont Women's Fund Council to raise $1 million for an endowment fund. And this was a really radical notion that a group of women could get together and raise significant funds. It just hadn't happened in Vermont before. And in 1995, the council formed officially, and that marked the very beginning of the fund and the endowment campaign.
The Vermont Women's Fund was born, and by May of 1997, the group met its $1 million goal. More than 800 women and men contributed as founders of the fund.
I didn't know of any nonprofit group for women, and I thought it was a wonderful thing to start. I felt very honored to be part of that in the beginning. It was very exciting. It was to come out in Vermont and say, this is important. We want women to be able to do this, and we want them to know they can.
In 1998, the Vermont Women's Fund was able to make its first round of awards to grantees. One notable one was an organization called Have Justice Will Travel. Winona Ward put herself through law school with the intention of providing legal services to women who were suffering domestic abuse and sexual violence. And she traveled all over Vermont in order to represent women who were without legal representation otherwise. And 20 years later, Have Justice Will Travel is still providing those very valuable services to women in need around Vermont.
With the new millennium came Rosies Girls, a program piloted by Vermont Works for Women that encourages girls to practice skills with power tools and technical equipment to invent, design, and build personal and group projects.
The Women's Fund was the first funder of Rosies Girls. They gave us one of their largest grants at the time, and it launched the program. The program has been running now for over 20 years in the state of Vermont, and it's been replicated in states across the country. And it's all because of the Women's Fund.
While the Vermont Women's Fund helped hundreds of thousands of women cross barriers and enjoy success, fund leaders remained frustrated that equality for women in Vermont, particularly around wages, was not happening quickly enough.
What if the Commission on Women, Vermont Works for Women, and the Women's Fund aligned themselves in a new way? Could we move the needle faster together? Within a very short period of time, the Women's Fund decided to sign on to this experiment, which we eventually called Change the Story.
When TIF approached us with this idea, it made so much sense to align 3 statewide organizations towards the same goal. And that goal was really to fast-track gender equity in the state of Vermont, as well as changing the culture and changing people's minds about how we could do this work together.
The Vermont Women's Fund and Change the Story together started the Male Champions for Change, with the premise that it's going to take both men and women working together to make pay equity a reality in Vermont workplaces. And recently, we've started talking about taking concrete action by doing the work on the ground in the field with employers all across Vermont to make this a reality in the near term. I think this is where the rubber starts to meet the road.
When I began working at the Women's Fund and also working with other women's funds around the country, I realized how important the role of philanthropy is to social change. There aren't any other organizations that are going to give seed money to help move culture and move ideas. And that's what our role is. And that's what Change the Story is all about.
It is time that we have equal pay and pay equity in all Vermont workplaces. And I think the work that the Vermont Women's Fund and Change the Story are doing to do that is exceptional, it's inspiring, and I think it really will make a difference.
I look at a lot of other women's funds across the country, and I don't think that they are nearly as innovative as the Women's Fund. And they're not the innovators necessarily. They're not putting the idea into motion. They're trusting other people to do that.
One of the really wonderful things about the Women's Fund is that it is truly a grassroots organization, and it was built dollar by dollar by Vermonters. We literally received tattered $5 bills in the mail to help build the endowment. Today, We have wonderful sponsors and wonderful donors who still believe in our mission and are giving in bigger amounts and are participating in all the programs that we are a part of. That's incredibly gratifying.
I would like to think that every woman in Vermont would be able to reach their potential. It's potential and it's interest that every one of us has something. And I would hope that each woman could have that kind of satisfaction in their life and make a difference for others. The minute you make a difference for someone else, your heart is bigger and your life is more meaningful.
Help Vermont women and girls rise and thrive. Learn more at our website.